All right, now we're going to talk about what we just did with the NFL and draft picks. We're going to do that with the Detroit Lions. We're going to go through all of their draft picks and their undrafted free agent signings and kind of just navigate that way. So, who was the best pick for the Detroit Lions in this draft?
I mean, I think they got the best player in the draft, Nathan Hutchinson. I know it's a cop out because he's the number 2 pick in their first pick, but and really more people than maybe even I realized, just because of what you're hearing before the draft. I don't know what happened there, but some more people were starting to sour on Trayvon Walker, and they thought the Lions, the Lions by all accounts jumped for joy when the Hutchinson.
I mean, the NFL got yelled at them basically, like they did last year.
Said you made this pick too quick. You have to wait. We have TV contracts.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I mean, if you're gonna go with someone else, I don't know. I mean, Pascal, by some had him one of the better. Beyond. I don't know. Pascal is probably the upside pick that I would pick beyond Jameson Williams, which I already talked about. The Lions certainly knew what they wanted to do in this draft, which was good. The idea was we're going to get more explosive on both sides of the ball, and they did that. So, I didn't love the fact that they had a chance to completely address some bigger needs, in my opinion. If they were going to trade up, they could have addressed and gotten, the complete stud linebacker or, a stud safety to really solidify the third level or the second level. But they obviously, you got to think about the other side of the ball too. And they wanted to get more explosive. So now they are. So, that's a tough offense now, in my opinion, to defend a little bit when healthy. I'd still say Hutchinson's the best pick, but there were 2 or 3, maybe 4 really good picks in there. The later picks are obviously subject to change. We'll see. Those are a little bit more up in the air, but I think they nailed the first pick, obviously, and I think really when you look at it long term, what they were trying to accomplish, you probably nailed the first 3 picks, and from there, at that point, if you nail those, if you get anything else out of that, you're happy.
Yeah, the complexities of where Josh Pascal is gonna fit on this defensive front. I felt like they were. Yeah. And it was a weird draft for me because I really did not want them to touch interior defensive line at all. I was like, I don't care if Jordan Davis and Devontae Wyatt fall the 3rd round. Don't. We went back to back last year with Unruzurike and McNeil in the 2nd and 3rd round. 2nd and 3rd round picks are expected to be contributors as starters, or at least common rotational players.
And they weren't until late.
Yeah, and they didn't pick it up till late. So I'm like, I want to give them a shot next year, full time, understanding the defensive scheme, and see what they can do. So I didn't want to pack it too much. And so the best pick is Aiden Hutchinson. Yeah, it is the cop-out answer, but probably one of the best players in the whole draft. I think it's almost unanimous in some accounts. So that was where I'm sitting on that one. The least favorite pick, it was hard for me to get excited about the Jameson Williams trade. I didn't want them to move up that bad. I felt like if they were going to move up that bad, I thought for sure it was a quarterback. So I was bracing myself for Malik Willis. I was not. Yeah, I didn't know if I liked that either that early. But if no one else is willing to trade before 20, I kind of figure like they had to trade for Malik Willis, so it had been before 20. They moved to 12, so I was like,
turns out they could have taken him anywhere.
Yeah, they had their chances for sure, but that they proved all in all that Jared Goff is their guy. They trust Jared Goff, and they want to give Jared Goff every opportunity to sign an extension next year. Even maybe they don't even have to draft a quarterback next year because no one knows what next year is going to look like either. With like Levis or Van Dyke, Slovis. There's so many guys we have concerns with. Obviously, Rattler is another name that pops up. Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, but Jameson Williams was tough because if it wasn't Willis, I was like Kyle Hamilton maybe.
Well, I thought Kyle Hamilton, Devin Lloyd, or Willis is.
And I would have been 100% okay with. I probably would have been. Still 12 seems high for all of those.
Yep.
I kind of
But
like
to
all those
me,
guys.
what either Hamilton or Lloyd would signal to me is they know what their problems are, and they're saying we're fixing these now. You know what I mean? And then I saw what they gave up, and I would have been still probably a little frustrated no matter what. But I get it. They also knew what their problems were on offense. They aren't explosive enough. They weren't explosive at all last year. And I mean, one of the least explosive offenses I can remember watching. I mean, the amount of dink and dunk, dump off passes was infuriating. I think it's going to be different this year. So
yeah, I mean, I'm super excited about the offense prospect there. I think he's also a good, reserve option if DJ Chark does have injury issues. If they continue, then you're like, okay, you're still not too worried because Josh Reynolds can still be a capable 3. He's already probably one of the best 4s now in the league.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I love the receiving core now. I don't have any,
especially if Hawkinson's healthy too. That's another receiving weapon. So it's
then both backs, especially Swift, is a great receiver out of the backfield. I mean, I don't really have any worries about pass catchers this year. Especially because they were able to kind of piece it together last year, and the way Amon-Ra St. Brown came along, that makes me really feel pretty good about everything.
And assuming these linemen stay healthy, there is a good to fair chance they are a top 10 line. This Jared Goff is going to have every opportunity to succeed on this team.
Correct. So I get it. I get what their thought was. Okay, hey, we're going to give him every opportunity to succeed. We need to get more explosive. This is the guy. Because what's his ceiling? His ceiling is probably like Tyreek Hill, like I said, but taller. I mean, he was probably the fastest player in the draft. I know he couldn't run, but fully healthy, I think he was the fastest player in the draft. So
I figured you probably run a number around what Tyquan Thornton did, 4.25, 4.26.
Yeah.
So yeah, to me, that kind of covered those answers. Who is the highest upside on these picks?
Pascal.
So tell me what you like about Pascal. I've watched very limited Kentucky film, and then I also have a lot of concerns on where he's going to fit on this defensive front. So tell me what you like.
He's explosive. Now, your question marks are, he had some issues where if he got locked up, tackle got 2 hands on him. Is he really going to be able to handle some of the elite tackles? Right. But he smoked anybody that he was clearly better than, right? Smoked. I mean, dominated. He doesn't have the power or the run stopping, in my opinion, that Aiden Hutchinson kind of brings to both of them together. But to me, he's kind of the, Hutchinson and Ojabo were so different last year. Ojabo was just that speed rusher. I don't think Pascal has as much bend or speed as Ojabo, but it's similar to that, where it's like they can kind of play off of each other pretty well to make it really difficult, if they're both playing at the same time. Now, I don't disagree where it's like, okay, where does he fit on this front right away? But the Lions and Brad Holmes in general have just said, okay, we're just going to go get really good athletes and we're going to figure it out. And I really like that. And that's kind of the way football is going in general, is we're going to find guys that are, maybe they're versatile, and maybe they don't fit exactly what a certain scheme is, but we trust our coaches to figure out a way to put them in a position to succeed just because they're that good, that athletic. And by all, he had some issues where he would get, when his hand was in the dirt, he would be super late on the snap, like so slow, like with his reaction time, where it would just be like he's completely out of the play already. So there were a couple of those. So there's some concerns, but to me, the upside is, I would stand him up, kind of like Michigan did the defensive ends, and to get him that little more time to kind of scan the field. But his upside is a really good weak side end that has some versatility where they can move him inside a little bit too. So he's not as good of a run stopper, but I enjoy. I think I like his film, and I think to me, the fact that they picked him there means they see where he can fit.
So my pick for highest upside is actually Jameson Williams, and we kind of already alluded to why.
Yeah,
he has the ability to be a top 5 wide receiver.
Top
5 wide receiver in this league, even. If
That
everything
could be like Jamar Chase last year is what it could be like. That's how good that could be.
and to me, if he touches the ceiling of Justin Jefferson, like I am set. Like I'm good. That's a good offensive piece. So to me, that's I've ragged on why they moved up, and you see why they moved up because he has all the potential in the world. My concern with the pick initially is the Lions are the Lions, a team that struggles right now, a team that had 3.5 wins last year, and aren't really in a position to gamble on players that have character concerns or injury concerns, which is why I didn't want him to touch George Pickens unless he fell to like the 4th. There's just certain guys that kind of rode off.
Yeah.
And obviously I didn't really know about the medical of Nakobe Dean either until, the draft.
Yeah.
And they started talking about it, but we're not always privy to that stuff. So my least favorite pick is probably going to fall somewhere along the lines of, James Houston, I think is my least favorite.
I didn't like that pick at all.
It was redundant. And again, we've talked about how this defensive front is already extremely packed. I'm not sure.
You know what that tells you is you either don't like what you already have up there or you just didn't know what to pick. You know what I mean? You didn't like any of the
options. He made technically he made a promise he was going to draft an HBCU player. And I'm like, so
fine. But I don't really care about that. And that's also dumb.
Yeah.
But fine, PR, whatever.
Yeah.
Good PR. But like to me, what that screamed is I don't know what I'm doing with this pick, so I'm just gonna do this. You know what I mean? Just because. And to me, I mean, at that point, you try to find a way to trade that pick. I know it's tough to trade.
Even if you get like a next year 5 or something.
Right. Okay, cool. Gain a little bit more draft capital, or package that in sooner. If you're sitting there worried about it early in the draft, hey, I don't know what we're gonna do when we get here. And I know that's hard to do. Then just wait. All you gotta do is wait.
I don't see where he fits. And to me, he's going to be 3rd edge, best case scenario. And now you've battled him now with Austin Bryant on that roster spot and him because Julian Okwara is on the up. Romeo Okwara is back healthy. Charles Harris, they just signed for like $8.5 million after he had a good breakout year last year. So they were, to me, I felt like they were set at edge, and then they got Hutchinson. I'm like, now they are really good at edge. And then they got Pascal, who can play inside sometimes, which I think the versatility is helpful. And even Hutchinson can kick in if he needs to. But I just, then getting him, who's, Devon Kennard, basically, I was like, what are we doing here? To me, it felt like a redundant pick. I would have probably gone. That's where I would have probably taken a shot on like Caleb Ellaby or something as a backup quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's when if you really don't know what to do with the pick, to me, you either look at you either go back to another receiver, right, or you go back to a position of need and you say, okay, what's the best athlete at that position?
I would have even looked at like a swing tackle or something,
right, or something that's like, all right, where's a guy that we think can make our team better because he can make a roster, right? I don't know. I mean, Houston, I'm not saying he's not going to make the roster. I think he probably would.
Yeah, he was okay at Florida, and he was elite when he went to play for Deion Sanders at Jackson State.
But it's like, I don't see it really. I don't know. I didn't love that one. That was
to me like that type of position doesn't play a lot of special teams either. They typically want like a good line. He's too big to be like that linebacker special teams guy. And he's kind of just too far down the depth chart to play on the defensive side of the football. Like I couldn't see him playing more than 5 snaps a game, to be quite frank. So that's when I was like,
to me, I mean, if you don't know what to do with that pick, find somebody that's going to play a bunch of special teams for you for a few years. That to me, I mean, that's important. So especially that late in the draft, I mean, your value is hard to find there anyway. So yeah, I didn't love that one.
Yeah. So undrafted free agents most likely to make this roster, and they signed some. They went heavy again on the wide receiver positions where they went big on this one. They got Khalil Pimpleton, Central Michigan. They signed Corey Sutton and Josh Johnson, who I had ranked as 40th and 41st in wide receivers in this class. Greg Bell, the running back out of Boise State, was interesting. Jermaine Waller, Cedric Boswell. Those guys are corners that they added. I like Derek Dees Jr. from San Jose State at tight end. I love Obinna Aze who I have as the 28th best offensive tackle. And then Demetrius Taylor, I had as the 19th best defensive tackle in this class. So to me, I felt like those guys were pretty good steals. We obviously saw a little bit of Kevin Jarvis at Michigan State. They signed him.
Yep. To me, they there's a good amount of local flair there, which is always, I think the Lions have always kind of done that. You give some local guys a shot if you felt good about them. I don't know if there was any guy on here that they were completely surprised that didn't get drafted. But yeah, I like Obina Eze. I mean, that's my favorite one, I think.
That's mine too. Yeah.
Again, like
we talked about that swing. We talked about that swing tackle they could have gotten in the 6th round. Isaiah was a guy that I felt like was a 6th round grade. So
he's massive. I mean, just massive. Has a great chance of, if he figures it out. I mean, you see it all the time with offensive linemen that you know.
I see like a little Adrian Waddle. That's where I can. He was on. Adrian Waddle was undrafted. I can see that with Isaiah. If Decker or Sewell go down for a game or two, Isaiah's not a guy I'm going to be super mad about if he has to plug in for a game.
Yep. They got the Ferris State offensive lineman as well. That was interesting.
Was that Zion Obeid?
Yep.
Yeah.
Got a couple tight ends. I liked Josh Johnson from Tulsa too as a slot receiver.
Yep.
So yeah, there's a few guys on here. I mean, it wasn't my favorite undrafted free agent list. There are other teams that I thought signed, maybe put a little bit more money on that, but into that. But again, I mean, you're hoping a couple of those guys make the team, really. You know what I mean? I mean, if a couple of them make the team, you did really well. If none of them make the team, you're not really surprised. You know what I mean?
They did also bring a quarterback into minicamp. They didn't technically sign him, but Connor Sampson out of Western Illinois.
Yeah.
I like his build. And again, I watched a little bit of film just because after I saw them, I'm like, what does this quarterback bring that Tim Boyle and David Blau does not? Like, I'm always excited when I don't like those backup quarterbacks for the Lions. So Connor Sampson has a shot. I like his size. He's 6'3", 220. That's not a bad frame for a quarterback.
Yeah.
He's got some mobility. He actually his hometown is Belleville, Michigan. So that's another local taste. Went to Western Illinois.
Nice. What is your biggest disappointment in the draft that you were hoping the Lions would do and they didn't?
So technically they redeemed themselves. But because they got Kirby Joseph. And I was like, okay, Kirby Joseph, I've watched some Illinois football too. He's a pretty good safety. I'm not terribly mad about that. There were safeties in the 2nd round where I was like, I was hoping at 46, obviously wasn't Pascal. And I again, like I said, I was not initially and instinctively excited about Pascal when they drafted him. I had him high, but I was like, I don't think they're going to go edge rush at this point at 46.
Right. They almost doubled up there, and it was like, if there was a position to double up on, I thought it would have been linebacker or safety, in my opinion.
Right. And so I was kind of wondering if maybe Petre or Brisker were going to make it to them at 46.
Right.
Actually, both of them, neither of them did. I think Brisker went right before to the Bears.
Right. And maybe that would have been their pick. You never know.
Mm-hmm. So I think I can't be so mad about it because, all the other safeties that went off, Lewis Seen, Daxton Hill, Hamilton were already gone.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, Brian Cook out of Cincinnati went in the 2nd round too. I wasn't as high on Brian Cook. I had him as like my number 16 safety. But, Percy Butler obviously also fell to the 4th round. I'd say, like we talked about, that was a good value. I don't really know though. I think I really wanted safety there for that 46 pick.
Yep. And I just was really thinking that maybe one of those guys was going to be there. Cause like there was 4 or 5 guys that I was like, all right, one of these guys has got to be there. And none of them really
was my number 1 choice. But then I knew that when they traded out of like 32 and 34, it's like, oh, that is going to be a steep hill to climb for those.
Yep.
Those are quality safeties, Petre from Baylor and Brisker from Penn State. Right. So I was not sure. And I didn't really want them to double up. They already they traded up for the receiver. So at that point, I was kind of torn on what position to go with, which was maybe what Brad Holmes was thinking, why he got Pascal. There's a guy that can kick inside, is another really good edge.
Yeah.
But like, they didn't need corner. Obviously, there was a good corner value. I think Andrew Booth was there. Kyler Gordon. Those are guys that did go 2nd round as well. But one of those guys, I think, was after 46.
To me, the biggest disappointment, it's not even a disappointment. I don't really care because I didn't love any of them in this draft. But to me, there was a chance, to go back to your point, to get a backup quarterback that maybe has a pulse, right? And who you literally bring in to be a backup quarterback. So there were a couple guys later that I was like, I mean, I didn't love them, but if it's like, yeah, he's going to come in, he's going to be our backup quarterback. Cool. Then we don't have to have Tim Boyle or David Blau, because you know what would really suck? And it really doesn't matter this year, but what would really suck is if it's like, man, this offense is humming. And then for whatever reason, Jared Goff gets hurt and then they're unwatchable again. That would suck. Right.
Yeah.
Versus maybe having a capable backup quarterback and they're still watchable, because I can tell you right now, regardless of what they have around them, David Blau and Tim Boyle are going to be unwatchable. So
yeah, Goff has to be upright all year. I hope that offensive line does their job and stays healthy.
Right. When you saw how bad Goff was, he didn't play hurt very well either. When he was hurt last year, he was worst quarterback in the NFL.
And then when he played even with the Rams hurt, they had to put John Wolford in, which is just a sad sight.
He's no good playing hurt either. So you better keep him sturdy.
We talked about some of the guys that were undrafted. So I think there are 3 undrafted guys that could make this roster, whether it's Derek Dees Jr., Demetrius Taylor, defensive tackle. The depth is what I'm worried about. John Penasini may not have a job here next year. They probably kick Michael Brockers into the inside. So then it's Brockers and Wuzurike and McNeil. And then that fourth D tackle could very well be Demetrius Taylor. So I kind of want to talk about where do these guys fit with the roles. Obviously, Aiden Hutchinson, that's probably really quick. He's an immediate starting edge rusher.
Immediate starting edge. Leader of the defense immediately, in my opinion. I mean, I think he'll take that role. So that's pretty simple.
Jameson Williams, probably start the season. He may not even start the first couple of games, although he got a good report from the surgeon today.
Yeah, it sounds like he's going to be ready to go. I don't know. That'll be interesting to see. But if he's ready to go, I think he's your one of your starting outside guys.
I think if he's even I think he's going to be ready cleared somewhere around that last third preseason game. And then I don't know if they're going to throw him right in though. Week 1, week 2, even maybe week 3 is when he first starts getting his. I don't think you want to throw in the guy that you just spent your 12th overall pick in when you've got other guys like Reynolds, Cephas, and Khalif Raymond.
I think if he's healthy, he's going to play right away, in my opinion.
So?
Now, if there's question marks, yeah.
Whatever. I would say even if he's on 98% healthy, you can wait. We have players.
Yeah, I just think the whole idea is he changes the way that offense, like suddenly you can attack at all 3 levels, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying, Josh Reynolds is a little more of a bigger body, deep threat last year, but I'm telling you, that speed that just doesn't exist on most teams. Like there's like 2 teams out there that really have that.
You don't think he's going to lose a step with his injury?
No, I don't. Most guys don't.
Okay.
Modern medicine is incredible.
Josh Pascal, obviously out of Kentucky. You kind of talked about him quite a bit already, but where do you think this starting? What is your ideal starting front now, or what defensive scheme is your most ideal for a front 7?
Yeah, I mean, most ideal. I like him in a 3-4, but be able to be multiple with it. I mean, I think Hutchinson fits the best in a 3-4. You saw that last year, where he can stand up and play in that outside linebacker role. It's kind of interesting. Pascal is just the wild card, in my opinion, of this draft. That's why I said that I gave him the highest upside pick, because you just don't really know. So I'd put him in a 3-4. I think Pascal is going to be a guy that's more of a he's a developmental piece to an extent, I would say, but I think he's going to play right away. I think he's just going to be more of a rotational guy, but he's going to give him a different look. So, if you're going up front, I don't know what you start him left to right. I don't think it really matters. I think Hutchinson can play both weak side and strong side defensive end. And then it depends on what you do. Do you flip the defensive ends all the time? I mean, it all really depends. But Hutchinson certainly is going to start. And I think he's probably your strong side defensive end. At nose, I would probably put Levi and Wuzurike. One edge, I'd probably go Romeo Okwara. And then the question is, okay, do you go Michael Brockers because you want to be a little bit bigger, or do you put Josh Pascal at 3 tech, or you'd rather train Pascal on the edge? And then, Aleem McNeil backing up at nose. And then I don't know if Penasini makes a team.
Yeah, I'm not Penasini. We talked about probably Demetrius Taylor or something. But.
Yeah, maybe Demetrius Taylor. I think Charles Harris will also be another edge along with Julian Okwara. So they have options up there, and I think that's part of the
Houston. And Austin Bryant. I mean, they're just.
I guess there's a lot of guys. There's a lot of bodies up there, which is good because you know what? That's a position that gets beat up. So.
I think my ideal look, I mean, obviously a 5-1, which is like a 3rd and long NASCAR look. That's kind of what I want.
Yeah. Or a 4-2-5. You can sit in a 4-2-5 a little bit, but
I think I actually think there's gonna be a lot of 4-2-5 this year.
I mean, they're gonna be in nickel a lot with some of these offenses they're playing against too. I just think, a 4-2-5 look where you stand, but to me, if you find a way to stand Hutchinson up and let him move around and wreak havoc, that's what I would do. I mean, he's versatile. He can cover guys too. He can cover tight ends if he needs to a little bit. So that's what I would do. And moving Pascal inside a little bit, he's got that ability. So so I think he gives you that ability as well. So I think that's probably why they drafted him. They have a plan. I'm sure they do. So.
Yeah, I obviously I like the look of like a 4-2-5, and whether that's, it's Romeo and Aiden at edge. Pascal is like a 3 tech, but we talked about Michael Brockers and Pascal may kind of rotate in that spot. And then Wuzarike and McNeil as kind of the whoever starts at nose. Like I kind of expect that to go that way. And then, the NASCAR look is ideal when it's like Romeo Okwara, Aiden Hutchinson is the 3 tech in some of those. Then Levi is a nose, and then Pascal is a 3 tech. You want to go crazy pressure, and then Charles Harris as another edge like that.
Yeah, you want to bring some crazy pressure. I mean, they're going to be able to get. I think the idea is to get a lot of guys who can bring heat on the quarterback, and so they can get a little more exotic this year. Because last year they were not. I mean, they didn't have that ability. They didn't have the bodies. They didn't have enough guys knowing what they were doing until late. I mean, especially early on, they couldn't even do basic crap. But that's new coaching staff. A lot of guys hurt. Back end not being able to hold up, so you got to be careful. So it'll be interesting.
Kirby Joseph.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's got a good chance to rotate.
I actually think he's a starting safety across Tracy Walker.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's.
I think Deshaun Elliott plays the number 3 safety role if they ever ring those out. Okay. I feel like if the Lions go, I think an ideal role for Joseph is a 3 safety showing where I think he's really good as like a high safety. And then that way he plays best in the middle of the field. I think he's like a good center fielder kind of then plays to his ball skills and range. So yeah, I know, and Elliott would play the number 3 role and probably replace Joseph in short yardage situations. Or when Aaron Glenn likes to get a physical defense, Deshaun Elliott's more physical, I think, but I think that's kind of.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But I think Kirby Joseph is he's that rangy safety that you're looking to play next to Tracy Walker. Tracy Walker got a lot better last year. So I think that you feel pretty good about the safeties back there. Not decent about them. I think
Will Harris makes the team because of his versatility now at corner as well.
Certainly.
James Mitchell.
I think he can be the number 2 tight end. I mean, that's the ceiling there. I mean, I think they're gonna just because they signed some undrafted tight ends too. I think they're not necessarily sold, but they wouldn't have wasted a draft pick on a tight end here if they didn't think that. I mean, they need a number 2 tight end.
I think he definitely has that. Yeah, I like James Mitchell as number 2, and I don't. This is where it's like, are they going to carry 4 tight ends? Probably not. Probably 3, which means it's going to go down to Brock Wright and Derek Dees.
Right.
Which is fine. Right now they have like 9 tight ends on their current 90.
And I like James Mitchell. I think he's a physical blocker. Not that Hawkinson isn't, but he kind of gives a different look. So if you can go 2 tight end sets, you feel pretty good about the blocking, and that's what you worry about. That's why you go 2 tight ends. So
Malcolm Rodriguez out of Oklahoma State.
I guess if we want to talk about disappointments, he wasn't necessarily a disappointing pick because I like him. But it's just one of those where I was hoping they would get a better linebacker earlier. So I guess
Jeff Risen was pounding the table 2 weeks before the draft saying Brad Holmes likes his linebackers. They're not going to draft a linebacker, at least early, like we all want. I know it's disappointing, but like he kept saying that over the first 2 days of the draft. So I was, and now that Rodriguez falls to the 6th round, it's like, okay,
that's fine. Yeah, I probably would have been. I mean, I would have been cool with him in the 5th.
I don't know why he likes his linebackers, to be
right. I don't love the linebackers, and maybe that's the last piece of the puzzle at the end. Maybe it's like, all right, we're just waiting to make for of this defense, right? We're gonna get all the other levels, and maybe
that's next year. Yeah.
Yeah, and depending on the front, if the front is dominant, the linebackers are going to look good automatically. So, I don't know. I mean, I think Rodriguez will rotate.
To me, he's a classic Mike linebacker. He doesn't have ideal size. I think he's like 5'11", but he's bigger than Dean because I think he's also 235 pounds.
Yeah, but he's not as fast. I don't know. He's a classic run stuffing Mike linebacker, and that's something that has value in the NFL still, but it's not. It's sort of a dying position. You're not going to be out there 3 downs anymore. So.
I saw a writing on it or a tweet from Jeff Risen. He said that he expects to see Rodriguez as the middle linebacker when the Lions go 3 linebacker sets, find a 4-man line, though he would have to beat out Jared Davis for that role. You can also see action replacing Alex Anzalone in the 2 linebacker sets. That's his ceiling though.
Yeah.
Because there's another
I think he'll play maybe.
Well, I think he definitely has a role there. It's going to be a bunch of average Joe Schmoes at linebacker this year, unfortunately, because, they have Sean Dion Hamilton and Chris Board I felt like a pretty decent signing. And then you have Derek Barnes, Anzalone, Jared Davis, and now, Rodriguez. So I think that they've got their linebackers set. I think that group of 6 dudes is probably their group. It's just it's nothing to like write home about. So that's and then James Houston, I want to talk about him. Because there's a promise he made to draft an HBCU player that earned it. So Brad Holmes says it wasn't just because it's HBCU. He had to earn it too, which he felt like James Houston did. He had a great season there at Jackson State, but it's redundant. I think he's going to have to. He does have the advantage because he was drafted to beat out like the Devontae Beckett's and the Anthony Pittmans on the roster, I think. But is his positional versatility it an advantage now over the pure edge rushers that they have also like Rashad
I don't think it's much of an advantage. I wouldn't even put him on if you're going to line up the front right now of 2 deep, he's not in my 2 deep.
He's not a 2. Yeah, he's probably 3 deep on most edges, and that's where it's like, okay, he probably makes the roster still because of his versatility over even Jesse Lemonier and Rashad Berry, and then we talked about Devontae Beckett and Anthony Pittman. So he probably makes it over them. I think the final roster spot's going to be him and Austin Bryant. And Bryant's not eligible for practice squad, so Bryant may make it, and Houston goes to practice squad, which means he may very well get snatched up. It'll be just like Jason Huntley 2 years ago.
Yep. Which what is what it is. I'm not losing sleep over that one.
No, yeah. And then the last pick, just to round out the Lions draft, was a corner that a lot of people last year had as possible 2nd round grade corner, and some even as late 1st, and that was Chase Lucas out of Arizona State. Yeah,
he certainly fell heavily.
He's undersized. They talked about big physical corners in this draft with like Zion McCollum and Tariq Woolen, but he's only 5'11". He's 180, soaking wet. Like
so he doesn't fit the mold of the corner right now. So I mean, your idea is can he move in and play some nickel corner? Can he be a slot corner? Or what? Some of those guys just end up being. Can he find that Jordan Lewis role, right? To where like you can play consistently. Now Jordan Lewis is thicker and faster and just better, but there's a role for a short corner in the NFL still. It's just I don't know. He's gonna have to fight for it. And you've seen guys do well with that. And you've seen it fail. So I don't think it's a terrible pick necessarily because you might as well take a flyer on a position of need on a guy that maybe has some high upside. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's a practice squad guy though. We'll see though.
Yeah, I agree. Probably practice squad guy. I mean, that's the tough spot with these last two picks. It's
If he's playing a lot, that's either like says some incredible things about him or some awful things about Jeff Okuda and others.
yeah, a bunch of sophomore slumps. That means Jerry Jacobs would have to take a sophomore slump. That means
Yeah,
AJ Parker.
we just got too many problems that would have had, too many other things would have had to happen, go wrong.
AJ
Or
Parker hits a
injuries,
sophomore slump. Mike
or crazy
Hughes
injuries.
gets hurt. Like there's lots of things that have to happen. So
Exactly.
So yeah, it was a good draft. Different than Brad Holmes' draft last year, where he was very conservative in his picks, just chose best guy. This year, I think he took his gambles on guys that he really liked, and
He went for it a little bit more this year, which I like. Maybe it was a little early, like a year early to really go for it, but we'll see. Maybe that wasn't him going for it. Maybe that was just him saying, "Hey, I have a position of a need to fill on this team, and I need to, so we're going to go get it." And we don't see a guy next year that's going to be better than Jameson Williams, so we need to go get him now. But maybe next year going for it is like crazy. You never know. I mean, we'll see. So
yeah, it'll be a fun year, and to kind of kick that off in the next couple months, we will start doing position rankings again that we have done every year.
Yeah,
we'll start out with the quarterbacks probably sometime mid-June, maybe end of June. And then, we'll come back with the Major League Baseball halfway season preview. And then, like I said, we'll just keep knocking it out until the NFL season starts and get something to be excited about. We'll maybe get some interviews with Risden and Logan again.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're not going to be on as much. But still try to interact, whether that's on, Facebook or Instagram or whatever. I'll try to post some things, but life is going to get crazy for us over the next couple months. And
sure.
I got a kid coming in, what is it? 22 days now or 24 days.
Yeah.
So a lot of nerves are kicking in, but
so yeah, we'll circle back. If there's anything that absurd that happens in the world of sports, though, maybe we'll hop on for a quick one here and there.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate you guys' time and listening. And Ben, appreciate you always being a faithful co-host.
For sure.
All right. Take care, guys.